It is evening in Pompeii in the year 79 CE. The evening light hangs in the air, casting long, amber shadows across the stone streets of the Bay of Naples. Alive groves on the surrounding slopes catch the last warmth of the sun, their leaves shimmering in the gentle breeze. The harbor wind drifts inland from the sea, carrying the scent of salt air and drying fish into the narrow alleys. Lamp oil burns quietly in the clay, vessels placed along the walls of the atria, their soft glow flickering against the painted plaster. The mountain in the distance stands silent and still, a dark silhouette against the deepening blue of the twilight sky. It is just a mountain tonight, a permanent feature of the landscape that has watched over the town for generations. The city breathes with a slow, rhythmic cadence. In the workshops, the rhythmic sound of a chisel against stone fades as the day's labor concludes. A baker sweeps the dust from the threshold of his shop, the broom making a soft, dry sound against the pavement. The scent of wood smoke mixes with the aroma of roasting meat and fresh bread drifting from the ovens. In the courtyards, water trickles from the bronze spouts into the stone basins, the sound echoing softly in the quiet air. The air feels cool and heavy with the scent of dried lavender and old timber, scents that have lingered in the houses for generations. Inside the homes, the light shifts imperceptibly as the sun moves across the sky. Dust motes dance slowly in the beams that enter through the open roof, illuminating the simple beauty of the space. The walls are adorned with frescoes that depict peaceful garden scenes, their colors of deep reds and soft ochres glowing in the dim light. A painted bird perches on a branch of a lemon tree, its feathers rendered in delicate shades of blue and green, frozen in a moment of eternal stillness. In the house of the Veti, the figures in the reception room remain suspended in their mythological narratives, watching over the silent rooms where people once laughed and argued. The scales hold their balance, and the king remains suspended in his moment of peril, a timeless symbol of the human condition. The architecture of the city reflects a deep understanding of daily life and the need for adaptability. The alii, those side chambers that open quietly from the central atrium, have been modified over the years to serve new purposes. Built in cupboards and staircases now fill spaces that were once formal reception areas, reflecting a shift toward practicality and utility. These physical alterations show a society that values resourcefulness, transforming their living spaces to accommodate the changing needs of the household. In the Casa del Bracciale d'Oro, a masonry base supports heavy storage, while in other homes, jambs constructed in opus vitatum mixtum close off spaces to create private quarters. The streets grow quieter as the evening deepens. The noise of the market fades into a soft hum, replaced by the chirping of crickets and the distant sound of the waves lapping against the harbor walls. Lanterns are lit along the road, their flames casting a warm, dancing light on the cobblestones. The city sleeps under the watchful eye of the stars, the mountain standing as a silent guardian in the distance. The people of Pompeii move through their evening routines with a practiced ease, unaware of the secrets that the future holds. They gather in the atria to share their dinner, eating simple bread and olives while discussing the events of the day. The rhythm of life remains steady and predictable, a cycle that has repeated for thousands of years. The atmosphere is one of profound peace, untouched by the chaos that waits beyond the city walls. The light filters softly through the impluvium and into the allée, creating a calm environment for evening reflection. Children play in the courtyards while elders watch from the shaded porticos with contented expressions. The home remains a sanctuary where personal identity can flourish away from the gaze of the community. Every door and every cupboard is placed with intention to support the specific habits of the household that occupies it. The walls absorb the sounds of daily life, muffling the noise of the street and allowing for quiet conversation. As the night deepens, the scent of lamp oil becomes more pronounced, mingling with the salt air that drifts in from the sea. The harbor wind continues to blow gently, rustling the olive leaves and carrying the sound of the waves into the city. The mountain remains a constant presence, its silhouette unchanging against the starry sky. The city of Pompeii sleeps soundly, wrapped in the darkness of night, with the weight of its history resting lightly upon its sleeping inhabitants. The final moments of that fateful evening arrive with the same quiet dignity that has characterized the city for centuries. The silence of the night is broken only by the soft sounds of the wind and the distant sea, a lullaby for a civilization that is about to be buried in time. The sun dips below the rim of the Bay of Naples, casting a long, amber glow across the stone streets of Pompeii. Heat radiates slowly from the pavement, a lingering warmth that holds the day's energy even as the sky deepens into violet. The city breathes in this twilight hour, a collective exhalation of dust and activity that settles into a quiet hum. In the Forum, the great basilica stands silent, its columns casting elongated shadows that stretch across the mosaic floors. The marble statues of magistrates and patrons, once bathed in the harsh noon light, now appear softened, their features blending into the gloom. Torches are not yet lit, leaving the public square to the fading natural light. A few figures move through the space, their footsteps echoing softly against the stone. These are the last of the day's laborers, men who have spent hours counting coins or weighing grain, now heading home for the evening meal. Their tunics are dusted with the white powder of the marketplace, and their movements are deliberate, unhurried by the rush of the morning. Near the temple of Jupiter, the air carries the scent of cooling earth and the faint, sweet aroma of roasting meat drifting from nearby ovens. The market stalls are being dismantled, wooden shutters closing with rhythmic thuds as merchants secure their wares. The noise of haggling has ceased, replaced by the low murmur of final transactions and the clatter of bronze scales being packed away. A baker sweeps the dust from his doorway, the broom making a dry, scratching sound against the stone threshold. He pauses to look up at the mountain that looms over the city, its silhouette dark and imposing against the twilight sky. Vesuvius stands silent, a permanent fixture in the landscape, its slopes covered in vineyards that catch the last light of the day. The mountain is a part of the horizon, as familiar as the street signs and the doorways, offering no warning of the violence that sleeps within its core. Further down the Via dell'Abbondanza, the public baths are emptying. As the evening approaches, steam rises from the pools, mingling with the cooling air to create a mist that clings to the walls. The great caldarium, once filled with the chatter of citizens washing away the day's toil, now holds only the sound of dripping water and the gentle hiss of cooling tiles. A matron walks slowly toward the exit, her skin still damp, carrying a small oil lamp that casts a flickering circle of light on the floor. She is followed by a group of young men, their conversations hushed, their steps echoing in the vast tiled halls. The frescoes on the walls, depicting scenes of mythological figures and playful cupids, seem to watch the departures with painted eyes. The colors, vibrant reds and deep ochres, fade into the shadows, their details lost in the dimness. The architecture of the bathhouse, with its high domes and arched windows, creates a sense of enclosure, a sanctuary from the cooling streets outside. Outside the baths, the street comes alive with the movement of families returning home. Servants carry bundles of firewood and jars of wine, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of lanterns held by their masters. The light from the open doorways spills out onto the street, creating pools of gold that contrast with the deep blue of the twilight. In the house of the Vetier, the atrium is quiet, the impluvium reflecting the first stars that appear in the sky. The frescoes on the walls, depicting a god weighing a bag of money against his own exposed form, remain frozen in their eternal moment, a silent commentary on the values of the household. The paint has faded slightly over the years, yet the lines remain sharp, the colors still holding a vibrancy that speaks of the skilled hands that applied them. A small statue of a satyr stands on a marble pedestal, its surface worn smooth by the touch of many hands, holding a cup of wine that is now empty. The city transitions from the bustle of commerce to the rhythms of domestic life. In the workshops, artisans pack away their tools, grinding pigments and mixing lime, water for the next day's work. The smell of wet plaster and crushed minerals lingers in the air, a scent that defines the creative spirit of the city. A painter wipes his brush clean, the colors of the day blue from lapis lazuli, red from cinnabar, smearing into a muddy gray on his rag. He looks at the wall he has worked on, the layers of wet plaster now dry, the image of a mythical scene taking shape. The technique requires speed and precision, the bond forming only while the wall remains damp, a race against time that has been mastered by generations of craftsmen. The light in the workshop is fading, and the painter covers the unfinished section with a cloth to protect it from the night air. As the sky turns a deep indigo, the first oil lamps are lit across the city. The flames dance in the breeze, casting flickering shadows that move across the walls and floors. The sound of the city changes, becoming softer, more intimate. The clatter of carts gives way to the soft padding of feet on stone. Dogs bark in the distance, their voices echoing through the narrow streets. The air cools rapidly, the heat of the day giving way to the chill of the evening. A gentle breeze sweeps through the forum, carrying the scent of salt from the sea and the aroma of herbs from the gardens. The stars emerge, bright and clear, reflecting in the still waters of the public fountains. The city sleeps, wrapped in the darkness of night, with the weight of its history resting lightly upon its inhabitants. The mountain watches over the town, a silent guardian in the starlight, its presence a constant reminder of the power of nature. The streets are empty now, the shops closed, the baths silent. Only the sound of the wind and the distant sea break the stillness, a peaceful lullaby for a city that knows nothing of the storm that waits in the mountain's shadow. The last light of the sun fades completely, and Pompeii settles into the deep, quiet sleep of the night, unaware of the dawn that will never come. The evening light settles over the city, casting long, amber shadows across the stone streets of Pompeii. Dust motes dance in the final beams of the sun, suspended in the warm air that carries the scent of baking bread and drying herbs. The city breathes with a steady, rhythmic calm, unaware that the mountain looming in the distance holds a silence deeper than the night. Within the walls, life unfolds in a series of quiet, anonymous portraits, each figure absorbed in the familiar tasks of a day that feels destined to repeat itself. In a modest dwelling near the forum, a baker kneads dough with rhythmic, practiced hands. The flour coats his forearms in a fine white powder, and the air around him hums with the warmth of the oven. He works by the light of a small oil lamp, its flame flickering against the ochre walls that depict a peaceful garden scene. The baker does not think of the future or the past. His world is the weight of the dough and the heat of the fire. He shapes loaves with precision, his movements efficient and unhurried. Outside, the street is quiet, the noise of the midday market faded into a soft murmur. Neighbors pass in the twilight, exchanging brief nods that require no words. The baker wipes his hands on a rough cloth and places the finished bread into a basket, ready for the morning rush. His routine is a comfort, a pattern woven into the fabric of the city that has held firm for generations. Further down the road, in a larger house with a central atrium, a matron moves through the dim corridors. She pauses to adjust the heavy curtains that hang in the doorway, allowing a sliver of moonlight to filter onto the mosaic floor. The house is silent, save for the distant sound of a fountain trickling in the courtyard. She checks the storage installations in the side chambers, the allées that have been modified over the years to hold grain and oil for the winter. These spaces, once formal reception areas, now serve the practical needs of the household, reflecting a shift toward utility that has quietly reshaped the domestic landscape. She runs a hand over the smooth stone of a built-in cupboard, ensuring the latch is secure. Her movements are deliberate, her attention fixed on the details that keep the home running. She does not wonder at the stability of the world. She simply maintains it. The walls around her are adorned with frescoes of mythological scenes, their colors still vibrant despite the passing of centuries. A figure of a god weighs a bag of money on a set of scales, a playful image that speaks of the economic realities that govern daily life. The matron glances at the painting, her expression unreadable, before turning to check on the sleeping children in the loft above. In the workshop of a glassblower, the heat of the furnace glows against the darkening sky. The artisan, a man with soot-stained skin, manipulates a long iron rod, turning a molten bubble of glass into a delicate vessel. His apprentice stands nearby, grinding pigments for the next day's work, the sound of stone on stone creating a soft, rhythmic percussion. They speak little, their communication reduced to gestures and the shared language of their craft. The glass blower knows the weight of the glass in his hand, the precise moment when it must be cooled or blown. He does not think of the mountain that watches over the city. His focus is on the transformation of sand and fire into something beautiful and useful. The workshop is filled with the scent of hot stone and the faint aroma of the sea that drifts in through the open window. Outside, the streets are empty, the shops closed for the night. The city sleeps, wrapped in a blanket of stillness that feels unbreakable. On the docks, a dock worker finishes his last task of the day. He secures the ropes of a small boat that has just returned from the Bay of Naples, the salt spray still damp on his tunic. The harbor is quiet, the water lapping gently against the stone pilings. He walks back toward the city, his steps heavy with the fatigue of labor but lightened by the prospect of rest. The path he takes is lined with statues of local heroes and gods, their stone faces illuminated by the rising moon. He passes a group of travelers who have just arrived from distant lands, their voices low as they discuss the journey. The dock worker does not join them. He knows his place in the city, a small part of a vast, ordered world. He enters a small tavern where the air is thick with the smoke of burning wood and the smell of wine. He orders a simple meal and sits by the fire, watching the flames dance in the hearth. The other patrons are silent, each lost in their own thoughts. The day's work done and the night's rest beginning. In the Villa of the Mysteries, the frescoes in room 5 seem to move in the dim light. The figures of the initiation rites appear to shift and breathe, their expressions frozen in moments of spiritual significance. The room is empty, the air cool and heavy with the weight of history. The paintings depict a sequence of rituals that were central to the religious life of the community, a secret knowledge passed down through generations. The artist who created these images used advanced techniques of perspective and illusionism to draw the viewer into the sacred space. The colors, ranging from deep reds to soft ochres, remain vivid, a testament to the skill of the craftsmen who worked here. The room feels suspended in time, a sanctuary where the boundaries between the human and the divine blur. The silence is profound, broken only by the distant sound of the sea and the soft rustle of the wind through the trees. As the night deepens, the city settles into a state of profound stillness. The stars above are bright and clear, their light filtering through the tiled roofs and casting patterns on the stone streets. Vesuvius stands silent in the distance, a sleeping giant that watches over the town with an unblinking gaze. The people of Pompeii do not fear the mountain. They respect its power and size, building their homes in its shadow and finding comfort in its presence. The soil around it is rich, producing abundant crops that feed the city and allow it to flourish. The rhythm of life here is steady and predictable, a cycle that has repeated for thousands of years. The sun rises and sets with a reliability that gives peace to the inhabitants. The moon waxes and wanes in the sky, marking the passage of time in a way that feels ancient and eternal. In every home, the oil lamps are extinguished one by one, leaving the city in darkness. The baker sleeps on a straw mattress, his hands still dusted with flour. The matron lies in her bed, her mind at rest after a day of careful management. The dock worker dreams of the sea, the salt air filling his lungs. The glass blower and his apprentice sleep in the workshop, the furnace cooled and silent. The city is a collection of these anonymous lives, each one a thread in the tapestry of the past. They are unaware of the changes that will soon come, the secrets that the future holds. For now, the present moment is all that matters. The city sleeps, wrapped in the quiet dignity of a world that feels secure and unchanging. The art on the walls, the modifications to the homes, the routines of the people, all speak of a life lived fully and completely. The legacy of this moment is preserved in the stone and the plaster, a testament to the resilience and creativity of a people who lived in harmony with their world. The silence of the night is not empty. It is filled with the whispers of a civilization that thrived for centuries, waiting to be discovered by those who come after. The mountain watches, the stars shine, and the city rests, unaware that its time is running out. The peace is absolute, a final breath before the storm, a moment of perfect stillness that will be remembered forever. The sun dips below the ridge of Vesuvius, casting a long, amber shadow across the tiled roofs of the city. The heat of the day begins to soften, replaced by a cool breeze that drifts through the open archways of the atria. Inside the homes, the light shifts from the golden glare of noon to the dim, flickering glow of oil lamps. The transition is slow and deliberate, marking the end of labor and the beginning of rest. In the modest house near the Forum, a matron moves quietly between the kitchen and the dining room. She carries a clay bowl filled with figs and a loaf of bread that has been broken into rough, uneven pieces. The sound of her footsteps on the stone floor is soft, muffled by the thick layers of dust that settle on the ground. In the adjacent room, a young man sits at a low table, his hands busy with a wax tablet. He holds a stylus, the metal tip scratching lightly against the soft wax as he records the day's transactions. The air smells of dried lavender and the faint, earthy scent of olive oil. A small oil lamp burns on the table, its flame dancing in the draught that enters through the impluvium. The water in the central basin reflects the flickering light, creating a shimmering pattern on the mosaic floor. The walls are covered in frescoes, painted in deep reds and soft ochres, depicting scenes of gardens and birds that seem to watch over the room with silent, painted eyes. Outside, the noise of the market has faded into a low hum. The merchants have packed their stalls, and the streets are quiet, save for the occasional clatter of a cart, wheel, or the distant bark of a dog. The city prepares for sleep, but within the walls of the home, the evening meal is a ritual of its own. The family gathers around the low table, their faces illuminated by the warm, golden light of the lamps. A servant places a bowl of olives on the table, followed by a plate of roasted vegetables seasoned with herbs from the garden. The bread is broken further, the crust cracking under the weight of a hand, releasing the scent of warm grain. The conversation is low and measured, a series of murmurs that blend with the crackling of the wick in the lamp. The father speaks of the day's trade, of the prices of wool, and the arrival of a ship from Gaul. His voice is steady, reflecting the calm rhythm of a life lived in the shadow of the mountain. The mother listens, her hands resting in her lap, occasionally nodding or offering a brief comment. The young man sets aside his tablet and picks up a piece of bread, breaking it in half before taking a bite. The food is simple, yet it is enjoyed with a quiet satisfaction that comes from the security of a home and the presence of family. In the house of the Vedia, the atmosphere is slightly different, though the rhythm remains the same. The walls here are adorned with more elaborate paintings, depicting mythological scenes that seem to come alive in the dim light. A painting of a god weighing a bag of money against his own flesh hangs on the far wall, a strange and humorous image that invites a smile from the guests. Another scene shows a king being torn apart by his relatives, a violent narrative that serves as a stark contrast to the peace of the evening meal. Yet these images do not disturb the tranquility of the room. They are simply part of the background, a visual language that speaks of the owner's wealth and their engagement with the world of art and myth. The servants move silently around the table, refilling cups with wine and watered down with a touch of honey. The wine is dark and rich, its scent mingling with the aroma of the food. The guests, a mix of neighbors and business associates, speak in low tones about the upcoming festivals and the weather. The conversation is light, filled with jokes and shared memories. There is no sense of urgency, no fear of the future. The mountain looms in the distance, a silent and constant presence, but is a part of the landscape, as familiar as the hills and the sea. The people of Pompeii have lived in its shadow for generations, and it has brought them fertile soil and abundant crops. They respect its power, but they do not fear it. As the meal draws to a close, the lamps are trimmed, and the light grows softer. The family members linger at the table, finishing the last of the wine and sharing a final moment of quiet companionship. The young man clears the table, his movements efficient and practiced. The matron rises and moves toward the kitchen, the sound of her footsteps fading into the background. The father remains seated for a moment, his gaze fixed on the flickering flame of the lamp. He watches the light dance against the painted walls, his mind drifting to the future, to the plans for the next day, to the children who will one day take his place. The night deepens, and the silence of the city becomes absolute. The stars appear in the sky, a vast and endless canopy of light that stretches over the rooftops. The mountain stands still, a dark silhouette against the starry sky, its peak hidden in the clouds. The city sleeps, wrapped in the darkness of the night, its streets empty and its homes quiet. The people of Pompeii dream of the life they have built, of the trade and the art, of the family and the friends. They are unaware of the change that is coming, of the fire and the ash that will soon bury their world. For now, there is only the peace of the evening, the warmth of the lamp, and the comfort of home. In the small bedroom, the young man lies on a straw mattress, the sheets cool against his skin. The fresco of a peaceful garden scene on the wall seems to glow in the dim light, the painted birds perched on the branches of the lemon tree. The colors are soft and muted, blending together in the darkness. He closes his eyes, and the sounds of the day fade away, replaced by the gentle rhythm of his own breathing. The world outside is vast and unknown, but here, within the walls of the house, there is only safety and rest. The night passes slowly, the stars shifting in the sky, the moon waxing and waning in its eternal cycle. The city sleeps on, unaware of the dawn that will bring the end of the world. The sun dips below the horizon, leaving the sky in a bruised shade, a violet that slowly deepens into indigo. The heat of the day, which pressed against the stone streets all afternoon, begins to lift, replaced by a cool breeze drifting in from the Bay of Naples. This air carries the scent of salt and the faint, drying aroma of herbs left to cure on the rooftops. Inside the houses, the light shifts from the bright, white glare of midday to the soft, amber glow of oil lamps. The transition is gradual, a slow surrender of the day to the night. Shutters are drawn across the windows, the wooden slats clicking softly as they are latched against the dark. The noise of the city, the clamor of merchants packing their wares, and the rhythmic clatter of carts on the cobblestones fades into a distant hum within the atrium. The central pool reflects the flickering flame of a single oil lamp placed on a small table. The water is still, undisturbed by the evening wind that moves through the open roof. A fresco of a garden scene adorns the wall, the painted birds and lemon trees seeming to breathe in the dim light. The colors, once vibrant with red lead and cinnabar, now settle into deeper, more somber tones. The artist who applied the plaster and mixed the pigments worked with a speed born of necessity, the chemical bond forming only while the wall remained damp. That craft, perfected over generations, now serves to illuminate the quiet rituals of the evening. The light dances across the surface, casting long, shifting shadows that mimic the movement of the painted figures. In the side chambers, known as allée, the atmosphere grows heavier with the scent of dried lavender and old timber. These spaces, once formal reception areas, have been adapted over the years to serve the practical needs of the household. Built in cupboards and storage installations line the walls, holding grain and oil for the coming winter. A staircase leads to a loft where the children now sleep, their breathing soft and even in the darkness. The modifications to these rooms reflect a society that values utility alongside tradition, transforming the rigid architecture of the past into a flexible sanctuary for the present. Here, the family gathers not for business, but for rest. The matron extinguishes the larger lamps, leaving only the small, steady flames to guide their movements. The streets outside are empty now, save for the occasional shadow of a dog patrolling the alleyways. The silence is profound, broken only by the rhythmic sound of water trickling from a fountain in a nearby courtyard. This sound, constant and soothing, has echoed through the city for centuries, a reminder of the life that flows beneath the stone. The mountain, Vesuvius, stands silent in the distance, its peak lost in the clouds. It watches over the town with a calm, unblinking gaze, a constant presence in the landscape that the people have come to accept as part of their world. The soil around its base is rich and fertile, producing the crops that feed the city, and the people build their homes in its shadow without fear. The mountain is a source of life, not a harbinger of doom. Inside the house of the Vettier, the frescoes in the reception room depict scenes of myth and daily life, frozen in time. One painting shows a figure weighing a bag of money against an exposed penis, a playful engagement with religious iconography that speaks to the humor and complexity of the inhabitants. Another scene portrays a king torn apart by his relatives, a dramatic narrative that serves as a moral guide for the household. These images, created by skilled artisans who traveled between cities to learn new techniques, are more than mere decoration. They are a testament to the cultural refinement of the owners, a way of expressing their identity and values through visual means. The light from the oil lamps plays across the painted surfaces, highlighting the subtle shifts in light and shadow that the artist so carefully rendered. As the night deepens, the city enters a state of deep rest. The lamps in the bedrooms are extinguished one by one, leaving the houses in near total darkness. The only light comes from the moon, which rises high above the tiled roofs, casting a pale silver glow on the streets. The air is cool and still, heavy with the weight of the coming night. The people of Pompeii sleep soundly, unaware of the changes that await them. Their dreams are filled with the sights and sounds of the city they love, the laughter of friends and the voices of teachers. The past flows gently through their minds, a river of memory that connects them to their ancestors. The future seems clear and full of promise, a path that stretches out before them with the reliability of the rising sun. The silence of the night is absolute, a blanket that covers the city and its inhabitants. The stars wheel slowly across the sky, their light filtering through the open windows of the houses. The wind drifts through the courtyards, moving the heavy curtains and causing the oil lamps to flicker one last time before the darkness claims them completely. The city sleeps, wrapped in the quiet dignity of a civilization that has thrived for centuries. The mountain watches, silent and still, as the world below rests in the peace of the evening. The art on the walls, the stone of the streets, and the water in the fountains all hold their breath, waiting for the morning to break. But for now, there is only the night, the darkness, and the gentle rhythm of sleep. The lamps go dark, and the city of Pompeii disappears into the shadows, a world suspended in time, waiting for the dawn that will never come. The mountain stands silent against the indigo sky, a dark silhouette that merges with the horizon. It is just a mountain tonight, a massive presence that has watched over the Bay of Naples for thousands of years. No smoke curls from its peak, no rumble disturbs the deep quiet of the valley. The stars above are bright and steady, scattered across the firmament like scattered silver dust. A gentle breeze drifts down from the slopes, carrying the cool scent of pine and the distant, rhythmic sound of the sea lapping against the shore. The water moves with a slow, hypnotic cadence, a constant whisper that has accompanied the city since its founding. In the streets of Pompeii, the day's heat has finally surrendered to the cool embrace of the night. The air feels heavy and still, holding the faint, lingering aromas of olive oil, baking bread, and the salt spray that drifts in from the harbor. Shadows lengthen across the stone pavement as the last light fades from the sky. The narrow streets, usually filled with the clatter of carts and the chatter of merchants, now lie empty and quiet. A stray dog trots softly past a closed shop, its paws making no sound on the worn cobblestones. The shutters of the houses are drawn tight, sealing the interiors against the darkness. Inside, the world is reduced to the soft, flickering glow of oil lamps. The flames dance in the still air, casting moving shapes against walls adorned with vibrant frescoes. In the house of the Vettier, the painted figures seem to pause in their eternal narratives. A scene of a god weighing a bag of money against an exposed penis hangs suspended in the dim light, a peculiar mix of the sacred and the mundane that once amused the residents. Nearby, the dramatic image of a king torn apart by his relatives remains frozen in the plaster, a silent warning of chaos that feels distant in this moment of profound peace. In the Villa of the Mysteries, the atmosphere is even more hushed. The large room that bears the name of its famous frescoes is dark, save for a single lamp placed near the entrance. The walls are covered in the life-sized figures of the Dionysiac rites, their movements captured in mid-action. The deep reds of the background seem to absorb the light, while the figures of the initiates stand out in stark relief. A young boy, depicted with submissive posture, appears to watch over the room with a timeless gaze. The art here is not merely decoration, but a window into the spiritual life of the community, a testament to the secret knowledge shared within these walls. The paint, mixed from crushed minerals and lime water, still holds its vibrancy, a result of the meticulous preparation by the artisans who once worked here. They ground the pigments with care, applying layer upon layer of plaster to create a surface that would survive the centuries. The architecture of the homes reflects the practical needs of the inhabitants. In many houses, the alley, those side chambers that once served as formal reception areas, have been modified. Storage installations and staircases have been added, turning spaces of display into places of utility. These changes show a society that was adapting to the changing currents of daily life, maximizing every square foot of the home. Built-in cupboards line the walls, filled with grain, oil, and wine for the winter months. The lofts above are used for sleeping or for storing valuable items, keeping them safe from the dampness of the ground floor. The modifications are subtle but significant, revealing a people who valued efficiency and security. The walls themselves seem to breathe, absorbing the sounds of the household and muffling the noise of the street outside. A matron moves quietly through the atrium, her footsteps soft on the polished stone. She checks the oil levels in the lamps, ensuring they will last through the night. The impluvium in the center of the room holds a small pool of water, reflecting the light from the ceiling opening. The water is still, a perfect mirror of the sky above. She pauses for a moment to look at the fresco of the garden scene, where painted birds perch on lemon branches. The colors are faded but still recognizable, a reminder of the beauty that surrounds the family. The scent of dried lavender hangs in the air, a comforting presence that has lingered in the house for generations. She moves to the kitchen, where the fire has died down to a bed of glowing embers. The smell of the day's cooking has faded, replaced by the clean, earthy scent of the stone floor. Outside, the city sleeps. The baker has already prepared his dough for the morning, the loaves resting in the cool darkness of the bakery. The dockworkers, exhausted from the day's labor, lie asleep in their quarters near the harbor, their dreams filled with the rhythm of the waves. The merchants close their accounts by the light of a single candle, the wax dripping slowly onto the wooden table. The sounds of the city have faded into a soft hum, a background noise that has become part of the landscape. The crickets begin their evening song, a rhythmic chirping that fills the silence of the streets. The moon rises higher, casting a pale light over the tiled roofs and the white walls of the houses. The mountain remains a constant presence, a dark guardian in the distance. It is a part of the sky and the earth, a silent witness to the lives of the people below. The soil around it is rich and fertile, producing the grapes and wheat that sustain the city. The people do not fear the mountain. They respect its power and size, building their homes in its shadow with a sense of security. The stability of the world is taken for granted, a rhythm that has repeated for thousands of years. The seasons turn with a reliability that gives peace to the inhabitants. The sun rises and sets, the moon waxes and wanes, and the city continues its steady march through the days and weeks. In the quiet of the night, the city feels suspended in time. The future is a blank page, unwritten and unknowable. The people of Pompeii live in the present, secure in the knowledge that tomorrow will bring the same sun, the same sea, and the same mountain. The dreams of the children are filled with the sights of the market and the faces of their friends. The adults rest, their minds free from the worries of the day. The world is small and secure within the walls of the city. The night is deep and still, a blanket of darkness that covers the streets and the homes. The stars continue their slow journey across the sky, watching over the sleeping city. The sea whispers against the shore, a lullaby that has sung to generations. The mountain stands silent, a mountain only, with no secrets to keep and no warnings to give. The night is peaceful, a moment of perfect stillness before the Dawn breaks over the Bay of Naples. The city sleeps, wrapped in the warmth of the earth, unaware of the changes that will soon come. The legacy of this night is preserved in the stone and the plaster, a testament to a life that was lived fully and peacefully. The silence is profound, a quiet that speaks of the enduring